It's now time for the Southern League Cavaliers Coaches Show with head coach Michael McClure. We now take you to Mike Fowler, your host for tonight's program.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Southern League Cavalier football and the Mike McClure Coaches Show. I'm Mike Fowler, and I'll be your host as we talk Cavalier football and visit with Cavalier coach Mike McClure. I want to thank our sponsors for helping bring you our show each Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. on 105.5 FM WFJA. Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Sheriff Tracy Carter, the Kendale Pawn Shop, Farm Bureau of Tramway, and Jones Printing Company. Tonight's show will be rebroadcast at 6 o'clock this Friday night prior to our 7 o'clock game on 95.1 FM and 1050 AM WWGP. Video of our coaches show will be posted on the WFJA Facebook page each Wednesday by noon. I look forward to talking with Cavalier coach Mike McClure tonight and bringing you exciting Southern League Cavalier football. We're going to take a short break and hear from our great sponsors. We'll be right back with Coach McClure right after these messages. Welcome back to the Coach Mike McClure Coaches Show, and it's an honor to bring back as a veteran coach now, Coach Mike McClure. Welcome back into the studio.
It's good to be back, talking football again. So it seems like, just yesterday we was doing this, and it's here already. So glad to be back.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of that, it's just 4.5 months ago that we were in here and wrapping up the spring season. As awkward as that all went, with the whole COVID situation, which we're kind of still dealing with now. But looking quickly back at that spring season, you come in as a new coach in a really tough situation, obviously, with the COVID and the pandemic and not being able to see your players to start off and get that regular routine going. But how would you assess, how that spring season went? I know we finished off 2-5 in that short spring season, but it at least gave you a little bit of look at some players, help, and we'll talk more about it going into this year. But what are some of your thoughts on how the spring went?
Well, during the time of it, it seemed like it was frustrating, and it seemed like, nothing was going good, coming out of it with 2 wins and being a young team. But when you step back and you look at it and you understand that it was necessary for us, and it actually done us some good because we were able to get younger guys that year experience, and that 1 year makes a big difference when you play in a sport like football. You got guys who come out as first-year players, and then once they get comfortable with the game, they're looking like they've been playing the game their whole life. So, and some of that showed, during our summertime and right now in fall practice, how much more comfortable guys are, being that they've already done it, during the springtime. So, some of the jitters and the nerves are not there like they were back in the springtime, which is, one of the biggest pluses for us. So we're looking just to kind of pick back up where we left off at in that spring and just kind of, start making the true turnaround that we were trying to do. Right.
And I know, even though we just played in the spring like we're talking about, it wasn't a fully normal off season because normally you'd finish in November or December even and get to start from then. But you having to start basically in the middle of April to first part of May. But how did that allow you to get into a normal routine? And a lot of kids played the last of the spring sports that were happening. But how were you able to get in some kind of schedule that carried you on into what you've done so far this summer to help out?
It was a better transition, I would say, because being there from the spring and then a few guys heading into spring sports such as track and baseball, but the other guys who necessarily didn't have that, we were able to, stay in touch and kind of go right back at it in terms of in preparations for the next season. So, and then too, it also allowed me to stay in contact with them and run the summer plans by them and let them know, and also some new guys that we wanted to try to get out. It allowed us to get in contact with them as well. Something that we wasn't able to do prior to that spring season. So I say the timing was well. I know, like I keep saying, in the middle of it all, it seemed chaotic, but when you take a step back, it actually worked out in our favor, and things just kind of lined up for us to kind of transition right into that summer.
So you guys have made the decision again to not go with a JV team this fall, just try and concentrate on the numbers you have. And I think the roster you sent me yesterday had about 45, 46 players on as of now.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be an advantage possibly to you because you get more younger kids and get more playing time as you go forward.
And so that's still, kind of the plan. We're not going to really, put a JV team out there if we don't have the numbers to do so. So when in rebuilding the program and trying to get this thing turned around, why not just go ahead and get younger guys more experience? I've been a part of a program where, I started on varsity my 10th grade year. By the time we were seniors, we didn't lose a game. Right. So, it's kind of like because we were comfortable with playing at the varsity level. So if we can get that kind of rotation, that type of cycle in now, we're setting ourselves up for the long run with
right.
that.
Exactly. And then also, you coming in and starting and having to basically just throw things together as quick as you could, you were able now to add a few more coaches going into this fall. So why don't you talk a little bit about your coaching staff for us?
Well, it actually came together like right before the official first practice is when our coaching staff actually picked up. We were fortunate enough to get Coach Sam Spencer, who was the head coach at JM. He made a transition down this way, late, right before things started getting kicked off, and he reached out to me and he came in, and now he's our offensive line coach. And with him, he brought his defensive coordinator, Coach Rick Willoughby, who's now serving as our defensive line coach. And then we have two local guys who were former Cavaliers on staff, which I think is good for the community and good for the kids because they have a certain attachment to the school. Coach Chris McClain, he's coaching the defensive backs, and Jeremiah Jones, he's coaching outside linebackers. So we now we have a total of 7 of us, whereas last year it was only 4 of us, and it makes a big difference in practice and hopefully it's going to make a big difference in games when trying to have eyes everywhere.
Yeah, and that's great. I remember Chris McClain and Jeremiah both, over the past few years, and I think you're right. Their experience on how the program works, even it's different coaching staff, but the tradition of the school, they know the school and know what they expect. And I think that's great because also this extra coaching staff is going to allow you to have more time to focus on specific individuals or smaller groups, right? Instead of having to do a big group.
Exactly. Instead of, having one coach trying to look at 3 different position groups, now we have it broken down to where we're able to get more done, and the kid, and no position is getting slighted in their teaching and coaching.
Right, exactly. We're going to talk a little bit later about the change in the conference, but one of the things in looking at the roster, we got a lot of experience in this roster, and looking at the last thing I had with the starting lineup from the last game, we had 6 returners that are on the roster from the starting offense and 7 from the defense. So I think that's going to help as far as your experience goes.
Exactly. I mean, I know other teams that have the same number of returning starters, so we're not far off in terms of guys, having experience, varsity experience, and us being, we're not necessarily, we're still a young group, but we're not really a young group. Kind of if that makes sense. We're still playing some younger guys in some spots, but overall, all these guys that we got on the field, they had some type of game experience in the spring.
Exactly. So now, and they kind of know your system and know what's going to be coming up. So I think that's going to be great going forward. We're going to go and take another timeout and hear from our great sponsors. We'll be back more with Coach Mike McClure right after these messages.
I hope you are enjoying the Coaches Show videos on WFJA Sports. We again would like to thank our sponsors for bringing...
Welcome back to the Coach Mike McClure Show. We want to also remind you this season we will be selecting the WWGP radio crew, which will be, of course, myself. And this year, Austin Thomas, the voice of Sand Hills Baseball, will be joining me to do color commentary. We'll be selecting each week the Norman Financial Group players of the game. And also this year and this season, as we did in the spring, Wilkinson Chevrolet and Cadillac will also sponsor the player of the game, which they'll receive a trophy. Coach McClure will be picking that player each week. And, Coach, we don't have the trophy here tonight, but it was a really nice trophy. You were able to engrave each of the winners' names, and I believe that you might have taken that to the banquet this year and,
I did.
and show it.
Yeah, we took that trophy to the banquet and presented it to all the parents because that was some of the players' first time seeing that trophy as well. And now it's in the book. It's in the trophy case at the school right when you come in outside of the gym.
That's
so it's
great.
A nice presentation for it.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks. Yeah, we'll have that again. We'll start giving that out a week from Friday after the first week's game, and have that every week here during the Coach Mike McClure show. So, Coach, let's talk a little bit about the scrimmage last week out there at Jordan Matthews High School. It was a 3-team scrimmage between you guys, Jordan Matthews, and Asheboro, I think was the other school involved. Austin and I were out there watching it. I was impressed with what I saw from the Cavs. And what are some of your thoughts about the scrimmage?
I was impressed as well, and I let the guys know that I was impressed. I felt like we played with a lot more confidence. I felt like we had a lot more energy. It was just we were comfortable. We were more comfortable out there. Still got off to a slow start though. Which was our problem back in the spring, getting off to a slow start, and that's just something that we're trying to fix now is getting off to a faster start and having teams to catch up to us and not us being the ones that have to play catch up. But overall, I think we're way ahead of where we were last year in terms of the things that we tried to do last year that we couldn't quite get done until probably about week 4, week 5 versus now. We're being able to do that, and some more along the lines of offensively is what I'm speaking on in that terms of doing certain things offensively. But I was extremely proud of them, and we just tried to keep that confidence and that them being comfortable to carry over into practice that following day and then that following week, and we just tried to keep that up and just build off of that.
Well, one of the things I noticed out there, first I noticed was when you guys went on the offensive side of the ball, was the size of the offensive line. You got some good size this year.
Yeah.
And according to what I've got, at least possibly 3 returning starters from last year, from the spring. But I think that size will help you guys in the long run.
Yeah, it definitely will. We was fortunate enough to get a player out who should have played last year in Jabari Person. He didn't play last year, but we're glad to have him back. He's playing one of our tackles for us, and then we got Damon Judd back out, and we got Marcus back out as well, who's playing center. So very excited of what we can do up front, and I mean those guys, they just got to be in shape because they'll play both ways as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And we'll have we started this the last couple of weeks of the season. We'll do it again starting next week on the Coach Mike McClure show. We'll focus on a different group of Cavs, and maybe we'll start with that offensive line next week. But we'll have more on that as we go through the season. So. Not only do you get started, with a pandemic and have to come in and deal with that as your first year, but now, due to the changes in the conferences, you get thrown into a whole new conference. And Southern Lee is now part of what is called the Sand Hills 3A, 4A Conference, a combination of 3A schools, which comprise of Lee County, Southern Lee, of course, Union Pines, and I believe Scotland County is now 3A. And then the 4A schools in the conference are Richmond County, Pinecrest, and Hope County. So not exactly a basic conference there for you to go into now.
Yeah, we understand that it's going to be a tough conference. But like I've been telling my kids, and it's football. Anything can happen on any Friday night. We just got to come play. And one of our mottos that we preach is anybody, anywhere, anytime. Yep. So we're not going to worry about what they do and focus on them. We just really want to focus on us and pulling upsets. That's really what we want to do because nobody's expecting us to come out on top of that. If we're being honest, so that's what we just want to do. We want to come out, pull upsets, and upset some people.
Yeah, I think, obviously you're setting the tone there with your team and what you've done so far. And it goes back to, again, having a half a year to really progress in your own program, hitting the weight room like I'm sure you did, and get that focus and get them ready for this. And we got a pretty decent preseason schedule as well. We start off at Westover. We'll talk about them in a minute. And then we also have South Johnston. I think we have Green Hope is the first opener on the 27th. And then actually Fairmont High School comes in to Southern Lee, and that's going to be coached by former Southern Lee coach and actually the head coach at Union Pines last couple of years, Lonnie Cox. So I guess he's gone home to coach that team. So we'll see how that goes. So you got a pretty decent preseason schedule. And
just a mix of 3A and 4A teams, just kind of get us ready as we head into conference play.
Right.
So I'm excited to get going, and like I said, just excited to pull some upsets. That's what we're looking. We approach this thing with a chip on our shoulder, and that's why I just try to instill in the kids to approach it with a chip, and just make sure every team comes to play every Friday night that they come to play us,
and just stay healthy. That's the main thing. So let's take a quick look, actually, with the Sand Hills 3A, 4A teams this opening week, this Friday night on the 20th. Of course, the Cavaliers will be at Westover, and we'll talk about the Wolverines here in a second. Lee County will be at Northwood. Scotland County will be at Northern Durham. Richmond will be at Mount Tabor. Pinecrest at Roseville. Grace Creek at Hoke County. And Montgomery Central will be at Union Pines. That's the scheduled games for this week one of the Sand Hills 3A, 4A conference teams. And, Coach, let's talk a little bit about Westover. There is a history between Southern Lee and Westover. Actually, Westover leads the overall series 5-3. We used to be part of the same conference years ago, and the last time we played was 5 years ago. The Cavs went down 21-20 back in 2016. But what do you know about this Westover team?
Oh, they're going to be extremely athletic. They're going to have guys at receiver and the quarterback. He's an athlete, and he can throw it down the field. He's a junior, so he's had experience last year, and he's coming into it more comfortable as we are. So the defense very physical. They're going to blitz a lot. And that's just something that we got to be prepared for offensively is picking up the blitz and making sure that we know who's coming at all times. But they're going to be extremely physical, and they're going to be extremely athletic, and we just got to make sure that we contain the quarterback defensively and that we pick up the blitz offensively.
Okay. That's one thing to do. And then actually on the offensive side of the ball, we lost Daniel Pisano to graduation, and I understand Blake Carrington's decided to focus on baseball. So we got 2 new quarterbacks coming into play. I think you have Josh. Is it Josh Stone?
Yeah, Josh Stone.
Yeah, and then
and Matt Kidd.
Matt Kidd.
So Josh Stone actually played receiver for us last year, and so we've been working with him throughout the summer, converting him to a quarterback. And Matt Kidd actually started out playing quarterback. A little bit of quarterback at the beginning of last season, and then we realized that we would just go ahead and make the transition, put him on defense, and so now we decided to bring him back over on the offensive ball and let him play a little quarterback and receiver this year as well.
Great, yeah. Well, I saw they threw the ball pretty well in the scrimmage, so that's a good thing. Everybody's healthy so far going into week one.
Yeah, everybody's will be healthy heading into week one, which is a good thing for us, especially when you have the numbers we have.
Right.
We gotta make sure that everyone's healthy, and we focus on being healthy and staying healthy in the way that we practice and make sure that we take care of each other.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And with school coming up Monday, you got that extra added pressure on the team too to try and keep them healthy and safe going into the games. All right, we're going to take another time out and hear from our great sponsors. We'll be back with more with Coach Mike McClure right after these messages. Welcome back, and we did one player I also wanted to mention before we close for tonight. We are getting ready to have our 3rd generation of McCullum as a kicker for Southern Lee, with Brian McCullum coming as a freshman, and obviously we were just talking during the break and what that importance could be for you guys.
He's very important to the kicking game. I mean, he's fit right in and picked up what Daniel Pisano left off at, so it's very good to have him.
Yeah, that's great. He's a freshman, so we'll get him for 4 years. So, again, we hope you've enjoyed listening to the Coach Mike McClure Show. We remind you to join us each Tuesday at 7:30 on 105.5 FM WFJA, and also at every Friday night prior to games at 6 o'clock or 6:30, depending upon our starting time, on 95.1 FM and 1050 AM WWGP. Our Coaches Show is also posted on the WFJA website and Facebook page each Wednesday by noon, and we are glad you have taken these opportunities to join us this season for Cavalier football. We also remind you to check out the WFJA website. Go to sports, then high school football, and you will see a choice of pages to include in our results page with complete game articles posted by midnight after the game, conference standings and power rankings, schedules for all the teams in the new Sand Hills 3A, 4A conference, and up-to-date season stats for the Southern League Cavaliers. Good luck, Coach, and good luck to the Cavaliers this week as they open the season on the road at Westover in Fayetteville this Friday night with a 7 o'clock kickoff. We thank all our sponsors for bringing you our show tonight: Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Farm Bureau of Tramway, Kendall Pawn Shop, and the Jones Printing Company. And we thank you for listening to WFJA and WWGP Sports. Good night, everyone. Go Cavs!